the eye and ear of the 21st century. I can see you and hear you, but I cannot smell you. Today I'm going to be talking about security systems. Today is such a sad day that we live in that our locks, guns, and dogs cannot protect us. Yes, they do a good job, but we also need the proof. So today I'm at my pond, which is my play camera, and I'm going to show you a bunch of things that you can set up a really awesome security system. So let me get to showing you all the parts that I've got running to make a really good system. Now, the one thing that I will not show you is my cameras that are for security purposes. As you can see, I am in my kitchen area with a monitor on top of my refrigerator. And you can see my pond behind me. Now, I can see anything and everything wherever I want to, in whatever room I want to, and with just the normal stuff that you have in your home to make a computer work. And let me show you some other things. Well, let me just show you the actual monitor itself and up close so you can see what's going on my camera. So right here's my camera for the pond area, and I can see and rotate anything. Now I cannot control this camera from this monitor, but I can see whatever is going on wherever in my property. So here I am in the living room, and I can see this monitor from anywhere I want in my living room, and we can be sitting here watching TV and also seeing what's going on outside of our house. Now I've got two in different workshop areas in my home. Now if you've seen any of my other videos, you'll know that a lot of my videos take place down here in my basement. And for some reason down here is the hardest place to hear what is going on. I mean, I can hear some sounds, but it is really hard to hear what is going on outside. So I have a monitor all set up down here, so while I'm working on my equipment, I can also keep track of what's going on the outside. So let me show you what that actual monitor is doing right now. So here's my work table where I work on all my stuff, and it's kind of messy right now. I've got a bunch of monitors. So right here is that television set that I've got with my my pond video up. And I can do a whole lot of things with this, like I can do with all the other small screens. But we're going to get into some more advanced type stuff as we move along here. And if you're interested in it, we're going to show you how to set up your very own system and the do's and don'ts. So I can see this from anywhere in my basement practically, except for behind. If I go too far here, if I'm working behind my computer equipment, I cannot see the screen at all. It's just too hard. But if I step up onto this little step here, where it's I'm up higher, I can actually see somewhat of the monitor. Now you can't really see too good because of all the wires, but I can lean around and look at what's on the television. So it's not really a 360-degree view, but it's a pretty good shot around the whole room. And I can be anywhere and see whatever I need to see. Now here I am in my remote office. And I have a small TV that actually has sound on it. The other monitors I showed you, the two downstairs, are just regular computer monitors. And this one's an actual TV, and the one that's in my basement office is an actual TV, so they would have sound and they could hear whatever's going on with the video camera. So now let me show you how this system all works, and let me show you what this video camera can do to keep you and your family safe. Now right now I have this video feed muted, so I don't have to hear the waffling of the wind and different things outside on the around the pond. So if I just turn that on so you can hear things. Well, it's a little hard unless somebody was out there talking, but I can hear some sound on these speakers from the lawnmower that's down the hill. And so what this camera is able to do is I can zoom in on my subject. Well, actually now you can hear the thing actually starting to zoom, so hang on, let me show you how it works. And that's the only thing that I don't understand is why does it have to be so noisy, the zoom? Couldn't it just be quiet? So I can zoom up to 4x. And it does have a little bit of an autofocus thing on it, and that's kind of annoying. But you can zoom out. And this also has a built-in SD card. So I can actually just have it take snapshots without a computer. Now I can just rotate my camera left or right. And I hope you can see this alright. So I can see different places on my property. And I can go right. And it also goes up and down. See, it gets really loud when you're turning this thing, if you got your speakers up loud enough to hear things. Now I'm going to go up. Well, that's as far as it will go, but I also can go down. And you can see anything on the ground you want. And then I can do the same thing here again. But let me get it back up to where it was. And alright. So I've got this mounted on my you've seen it on the first hand of the video there on the clothesline outside my house. So I can see all the wildlife that I want. So to start off with, if you have tons of monitors like I do, you can modify them so that they'll work with any HDMI source. The only thing that is with the old, like these ones that I have that I just showed you before that, are LCD monitors that people have just thrown out because they went to get the newer LED monitors. The LCD monitors will work just fine. So you're asking me, well, how do I get that monitor to work with that new video source that I've got? Well, it's very easy to do. So if your monitor comes with the VGA port and or a DVI port, you can use adapters to make them work. Now, the only thing with using a DVI port is that you cannot use the audio with it because the adapter, I mean, back when they first started making these, the DVIs weren't meant to have audio on them. So if you want audio, you're going to have to use this other type of adapter that I have. So let me show you what I'm doing right now. So here again is just all of my old monitors that I have, and they do not have the latest HDMI equipment on it. But it does have the VGA and the DVIs. Now it's kind of hard to see on this monitor, or any of them for that matter. But, so how do you get your VGA, which is a plug like that? Let me get up here a little bit closer. It's kind of a mess down here because I've been cleaning out some stuff. But so this is your VGA port, and that connects into your computer. Well, how in the world do you connect it up to any HDMI source? Simple. You get one of these adapters. Now I bought this one. I'm not sure if this one really works anymore or not, but I have a different brand now that I use that actually work better than this one does. So what it does is that it gives you the VGA, and on the back here it gives you a little let's see here if I can get it It's a 5-volt USB port and an 8mm, or actually I'm not sure if it's 8mm or what, or whatever it is, regular standard headphones jack for your speakers. So that would be for something like this kind of a plug. So you could plug a regular set of speakers into your source where your HDMI is. So how in the world do you get this across your network? So down here I have these video, actually this is the video receiver, and I got the video transmitter over here. And it's very simple. You can either plug it in so it just goes point to point, which is from this box to this box, or you can plug it into your network and send it over cables and switches, which is the way I have it set up. But I have to warn you about some things before you actually get into doing something like this. I would like to give you a few pointers on how to set up your network with your video cameras. Now, out of all the things that people say and how they advertise their video equipment is, oh, well, you can remote access your cameras from anywhere in the world. Well, why would you want to do that? What's the point of security if you're running your cameras over on the internet? I mean, every single peeping Tom can find out where your video camera's at, listen in onto your house or business, wherever you got these cameras put, whether they have microphones or if it's just a camera itself. I mean, I've got both. I've got cameras with microphones in them, and then I got cameras without microphones. But for those that do, why would you want to be able to have peeping Tom listening to your home and, you know, in your private life? I mean, you could have this stuff accessed without you even knowing it. And if there's a hacker out there that knows about hacking things, he would be glad to hack into your video camera and steal your goods. So, what's the point of having anything on the internet that's supposed to be a security system? To me, it's not worth it. And I'm going to show you how I've got certain things set up in my network. And I'm going to show you my switches to give you an idea of how I got my stuff set up. Because, I'll be honest, the video equipment that I've got takes a lot of bandwidth on my network. So I've got two separate switches. One set up for video applications, and the other is set up for computers and routers and internet access only. So they do a bunch of things, and I can do a whole lot of things with the two switches, but without the video switch, I had everything set up on one 48-port switch. I taxed that thing out, and I was having so many problems because of all the video equipment that I have running. So let me show you that switch right now, and switches. So these are my switches that connect my video system and my computers together. And all in all, that you can access the video cameras and whatever else is attached to this top switch to the computers. Now the computer systems are on the bottom, and these are what they call managed switches from Netgear, and you can get a whole pile of these things. I mean, different sizes, different, you know, how many ports you want on it. The one thing that I do not recommend is if you're going to run, say, like 7 or 10 video cameras, video senders, I would not do the small switches. Like the smallest switch, and I still have them and I use them on some applications, I would not recommend the 8-port switch, because one, they do not have fiber optics, and they do have a fiber optic version, but they're way expensive, way more than just buying a regular category 6 or 5 network switch. Which, when I say category 5 or 6, it doesn't matter what category you use, except that I do recommend using category 6 for video applications, because they're just better cables. I've had a lot of problems with Cat 5 SE, and I just eventually just switched all of my network Ethernet cables over to category 6. So here on this switch, I've got it. This is my fiber optic cable down to this switch, and it works a heck of a lot better than daisy chaining two switches together with Ethernet. And for those rooms, and if you've watched my other videos, I also have other rooms in the house. Actually, all my rooms in the house have fiber optics through this system here. And how did I do that? So I have more rooms that have fiber optics than are actually ports on these switches. Because right here, if I pop off this little cap, you can actually see the fiber optic port. Now you do need an adapter to actually connect these different ports up, and you need to find the right model number. And I can't go into this one. This is for video cameras only. But say like your room that you're connecting this fiber optic, and you don't have enough fiber optic ports. So what have I done? Well, down here I've got these little fiber optic, and I'm not sure if you can see them too well, but they are fiber optic converters. So it switches it from Ethernet to fiber, and then it sends it upstairs wherever and puts it back into the switch. And I do recommend buying a fiber optic switch. Don't use fiber optic converter to fiber optic converter. It means that you convert it to fiber optics and you convert it back to Ethernet, because it just slows down. You want the real deal here. If you're going to go with fiber, you convert it from Ethernet, and then you just send it right straight to fiber. But those switches get expensive. But these switches here, I think I paid about $500 for them. The other ones were, well, the second one was a little bit cheaper because the price came down by the time I was getting all this stuff set up. So what to do about recording? Now, some cameras, like the ones that I've got, like the one I showed you on my Pond, that one has onboard storage, but I don't trust it, because I'd rather have it sent to my computer for safekeeping. And what type of computer do you want to use? So, in the past, I've used a Dell Dimension, well, actually not Dimension, it's XPS 420. It was a dual-core computer. I've set it up so it was solely for recording video cameras. And by the time I got more cameras, I maxed out the processor because of all the recording that was going on in that system. So you want to use more processors if you're going to use a lot of video type recording on with your cameras. And the other thing with your recording computer, I do the same thing, is I would not have your computer connected anywhere to the internet so that somebody can't hack it and get all your videos that you've been recording. And the same way with the cameras. I would set up like there's a DNS, that means domain name server, where that connects it to the internet. I put faulty DNS servers in so that it couldn't access anything throughout the internet. But I'm getting a little bit ahead of myself here, because there's a lot more that I've been doing, and maybe it's overkill for some of you users out there, but I'm just high-end. I mean, basically how I got started into doing video cameras was I was basically having problems with water down here. And that was the whole reason why I started getting into it. Wasn't really for security, but it just evolved into security. And I've had water problems down here. I still have water problems, and that's why I had the camera, was to keep track of the water issue down here, to make sure that the pump was pumping every time the sump hole filled up. One thing you want to think about before you get into too much of setting this stuff up and spending hundreds of dollars of doing this yourself, it saved me a lot of money just doing it myself, and I got what I wanted. I didn't have to worry about Joe Schmo putting in something that I didn't want, and I could pick the type camera I wanted, and so on. Well, if you're a typical home user,
and you want to, watch whatever you want to watch, wherever you want to watch it, whether it's in your kitchen, your dining room, the living room, your office area, you're going to need to have a little more robust network. Now, most home users have a small, router, so it's not going to be very powerful to handle things. And you can get away with 1 or 2 video cameras, and that's about it. Now, that's if you only have like 1 computer and a wireless system. If you got more than 4 devices, you're going to have to upgrade your router to a small business class router like I have. And if you watched any of my Zero Shell videos, you'll know that you can make your own enterprise router on your old computer for nothing. And, well, I can't say nothing because you're going to have to buy some parts to connect it to your network. But other than that, it's pretty well a cheaper way to go than having to buy a business class router. So, when you get your system set up, then you can start doing these video devices. Now, if you're wondering, well, what video device do I pick? Well, anything that has HDMI and it has to say TCP, which means that it will work over your existing IP network, which is your router. And if you got something that doesn't say TCP, then obviously it's not going to work with your router. I've done it, been there, it didn't work. So some of these units that you can get for cheaper are only what they call point-to-point. So it goes from sender to receiver, and you cannot connect anything else into it. And the other thing is, if you want to hook up multiple receivers to your transmitter, you need to find a system that will allow you to hook up multiple receivers to one transmitter. I've kind of piecemealed my stuff together, and I have found some equipment working with other brands that maybe they shouldn't have, or maybe they do, I don't know, but they always seem to have worked. But if you start mixing brands, you can start having problems. Like the one I just showed you on the table here. It didn't work with any rest of my transmitters or receivers. So how did I set up my video cameras to work anywhere on my property where there's power? So I have these Ubiquiti dishes set up, and you can see it right behind me here. And I'm going to get a closer up view of the entire setup. And everything goes from wireless to wired, so that it just works better. Now, if you're using a 2.4 gigahertz antenna on the camera, that stinks. And I don't recommend using any wireless from 2.4 gigahertz. Now, these dishes that I have are about 5.8 gigahertz, and they're solid. And although that the way I've got this set up, I'm going to have to set up another transmitter, because I'm actually receiving signal from a transmitter that's pointed in the wrong direction. So every time I have the wind change or the weather changes, so doesn't the signal. So let me show you that dish right now and what's going on inside that camera. So here's that Ubiquiti dish that I was talking to you about. And they're about, for a set, is about $100. Not bad. You have to have 2. You got to have one for the transmitter and one for the receiver. And this is receiving in it from all the way up in the hill. And I'm not going to go over that far because the sun's shining and you'll get a glare on my video. So anyhow, how does this thing work? So I've got a cable, and actually this is my power cable right here. It's kind of temporary set up with a extension cord. So I have a cable that comes from the bottom of this thing, and it comes into my junction box here, and then it comes right over to my video camera, and it's just all wired because I don't use, like I said, any of the wireless, because I've taken the antenna off from that camera. And I'm not sure if you can see it too well. The sun's in my face. So that's how the camera works. So that's pretty much how you set up a security system in your home, whether you want wired or wireless. Now, like I said, and I don't think I've told you how far this is from the source that I'm at. It's about 125 feet. I just didn't feel like running a whole lot of network cable and power cable to get this thing set up. And now I can actually move it wherever I want to and connect more dishes and have them anywhere on my property, whether they're, I don't know where. I've got one out in the woods someplace to hunt, well, you could say hunting deer, but I don't really hunt deer. I just watch them with my camera. That's what I call hunting deer. But anyways, I hope this helps you set up your security system at your home or business. And I'll see you the next time on Pushing Technology to the Limit. Have a great day.